like a really long arm.
Okay, there you go.
I'm a professional selfie taker.
Good. You think that happens a lot? All right. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Tell me what, obviously, to fly Thunderbirds, tops of the tops, congratulations. How long have you been flying the military?
Okay, so I've been in the military for 13 years. I've been flying for 10 of those years, and this is my third season with the Thunderbirds.
When you started flying, was it that's what I want to do, or was it like you started going, found out, and was like, maybe I'll go there?
A little bit of both. I think when I was a child, I wanted to grow up and become a fighter pilot or a Thunderbird. And to become a Thunderbird, you have to become a fighter pilot. And just growing up in the fighter world, I was so focused on just becoming the best at my craft and learning the jet, learning the tactics, and all that stuff. That the Thunderbird dream kind of went on the back burner just because I was so focused on just being the best I could be in the air. And then it wasn't until I was a little bit older, I'd been flying for probably about 7 years or so, a major at the time, that I really kind of came back around and started thinking about the Thunderbirds and how the mission is more about yourself. When you're young, you're focused on your own performance and your own knowledge, your own execution, the tactics. Then as you get older, your aperture starts to open up a little bit more. It starts to become more about other people. And when I became an instructor, it's about how to instruct that next generation of fighter pilots to go win our nation's wars. And that's what really got me thinking even broader, like, hey, how do we recruit those next generation of airmen for the entire Air Force, not just for our fighter structure?
When you were an instructor, were you instructor for fighters, or were you?
I was, yeah. So I've flown the F-16 my entire career. I upgraded to instructor while I was stationed at Aviano Air Base in Italy, and I instructed out there for 2 years there, and then I also upgraded to a forward air controller airborne instructor as well. So the airborne piece of the close air support team, I was instructing in that as well. So, and then I went from there to an operational test and evaluation job, which is all instructor pilots as we test out the newest hardware and software for the F-16.
Oh, very cool.
So I'd had probably 4 or 5 years of instructor experience before coming to the team.
What's the process for becoming a Thunderbird pilot? I mean, once you say, I want to do that, what do they do?
Yeah, so it's there's min requirements. So you have to be a fighter pilot with 750 hours. And then you don't have to be an instructor. That's just desired, not required. And from there, you submit an application. So there's a pretty in-depth application packet that they require. So it has all your flying history, every check ride you've ever done, every PT test, physical fitness test you've ever done, letters of recommendation, personal statement of intent, resume, full-length body photo. I mean, you name it. There's just a lot of stuff that goes into it, and that goes and gets sent to the team. And from there, the team will select about 12 to 14 semifinalists. They'll invite those people out to an air show for a weekend where you'll go through a series of interviews. And from the 12 to 14, they'll whittle it down to about 6 candidates for finalists. And they'll bring you back out a couple weeks later to a different show site. And you'll go through another round of interviews with the generals, and then a 12-man panel interview with all the officers on the team. And from there, they hire 3. So that's just for the demo pilot applicants. Of course, it's a little bit different for the leadership roles, the commander leader and the director of operations, and then also the support officers.
I would assume by the time you're at this level and you're applying and you're a serious applicant, they're not all that like, is he good enough? Because I would assume with that amount of flying, they're going to go, this guy can handle the plane.
Yes, sir. So once you make it past the packet review, if you will, the paper review, every person that we invite out for an interview would be good enough to be a Thunderbird. It just comes down to nuances. How good are they? How good are they at walking to a room full of strangers and talking to them? Are they comfortable in front of a camera? Just things of those natures. Would they get along with the rest of the team? Because we're on the road with each other more than we're with our own families. So it really is a lot of time. So you have to be able to really gel and get along with your teammates on this team.
What was it like your first season? You show up and it's like, okay, we're going to go up and we're going to start doing some of this stuff. Was that an intimidating thought? It's like, okay, we're going to be doing this.
It was. I think even when you're told you're selected for the team, you watch the show and you're like, there's no way I'll be able to do that. It was even weirder for me because I was actually deployed to Afghanistan when I found out that I made the team. So I got to come home 2 months earlier. It's supposed to be a 6-month deployment. I got to come home in month number 4, which is really nice. My wife was really happy about that. But I had to go straight from combat right into flying air shows and doing loops down low. So that was kind of an odd transition. My brain for the past 4 months had been about protecting the guys on the ground and protecting the Afghan National Army and the people there who were trying to rebuild their country. And here I am transitioning right into a red, white, and blue jet, flying up. And I was a solo when I started out, so I was flying upside down, very low to the ground. And I think I came back from every sortie just being like, I can't believe they let me do that today. I can't believe the Air Force didn't take my wings right off my chest for flying upside down at 200 feet today. So it definitely is a process, but we start off very slowly. You start off really high, one jet, two ship maybe far apart, and then you work your way down as experience and your own proficiency allows.
So you fly number 4. When we're watching the show, are you normally in a specific, like when we see the diamond come over, where are you?
Yep, so I'm right behind the boss, right here in the patch, that guy right in the back. So I have the second best view in the house because I get to look forward. It's only partially obstructed by the boss's jet, who's flying right above me about 3 feet away. But I actually get to look forward and see the crowd and see the sights for that, which is really nice. It's also my role to back up the boss. So the boss is in his first year. So, great pilot, has a lot more experience in just fighter aircraft than I do, but I have a little bit more experience just on the Thunderbirds and what we do. So it's kind of a team effort along the way of helping him become that commander leader and fly the finesse that you need when you have 3 other people flying that close off your wing. But at this point in the season, he's got it. I'm just there to kind of back him up safety wise, but he doesn't really take much advice. He doesn't need my advice as much anymore than he did in the beginning.
No, that's not what you wanted to say, sir.
It's more of just like, hey, to him it seems small, like maybe a little bit of ease and stick pressure, but for us, we see a jet coming into us and we all have to react, and I can see all the jets through my peripheral vision. So anytime something happens, I can see when the wingmen bobble or when I have to push. So when we come back to debrief, every sortie we debrief, no matter if it's the first or the last one of the year. We're still trying to learn as much as we can, and even that small little change of 0.1 G is enough for us to talk about, because that could cause some movement that will translate into the smoke and what the crowd sees. So
does it ever become natural when you're doing, especially when you see the opposing, you're coming, when you're doing a flight like that, how close are you?
So the solos, when they pass, there's not really a number they're shooting for, but the closer you are laterally, the better the hit looks. And I think towards the end of the year, Spider was aiming for about 75 feet of passage between us.
Does it ever become, do you still look at this, just is it normal for a human being?
So you just get used to it, and honestly, I think it ruins us a little bit for post-this when we have to go back to following all the normal Air Force rules. A normal Air Force pilot is capped at 500 feet for the low level. And I remember coming up initial by myself the other day after a training mission at 300 feet and thinking that was really high in space at 300 feet. So I think you do get used to it because you do it so often. We fly probably 4 to 5 times more than the average Air Force pilot, and you just get used to what the sight pictures and being comfortable down low. I do think there's probably some negative transfer when we go back as far as being used to being low, but it's also safe when you're so highly trained and do it often. We just don't fly low for the sake of flying low, but we have a good step down program, and we practice it, and we're very proficient at it.
So did you leave from Las Vegas this morning then?
We did. Yeah, we did. Yeah, we flew.
How long did it take you to get here?
It was about 3 hours and 15 minutes because we had a tanker that we hit airborne. So we tanked once over Colorado in the vicinity of Grand Junction, and then over Lincoln was our second tanking. So it took off about probably 6:50 brief, so 7:30ish a.m. and then hit two tankers on the way over here, and then did our site survey. So
when you do the site survey, the whole purpose of the video is talking about preparation and stuff like that. We got here, they were saying there's markers and things like that. Like yellow. What else? What's preset? Or what has to be set up for you guys to do what you do?
Yep. So that's a great question. It actually starts months in advance with a lot of coordination. So the first thing that we need is protected airspace. So they set up a temporary flight restricted zone over here that's 5 miles from the show center, which is that TACAN antenna right there that you see, the checkered bowling pin looking thing. So 5 miles from that in every direction, we have a flight restricted zone that goes into effect when we're flying. So that keeps all the other traffic away. The other thing that we have is the aerobatic box. So any time that the aircraft is going to go aerobatic, so upside down, anything of that nature, rolling low to the ground, about 2 miles on either side, about a half a mile on either side depth-wise, and 2 miles either side width-wise. Has to be a sanitized area where there's no people, crowds, vehicles, movement. It just needs this for their safety. If anything were to happen during the show, you don't want it to happen in the airback box. And then there's minimum crowd distances. So where that orange tarp is, there's a minimum distance the crowd has to be away from what we're doing for the speeds that we fly. So that's all planning that goes goes well in advance, months in advance of our arrival. Then what we do is we take all the planning that the show site has done and we build a profile on Google Earth. So we actually put the lines down of how we're going to fly, and we have this overlay that we put down that basically has a cross with the show line, and the front to back line, and our roll cut line, and then 2 hacks that the solos use for their timing patterns. From there, we start building the obstruction obstacle database. So we use government sources that have every obstacle, that's light pole, towers, you name it, cell phone towers. They're all in a government database, and so we overlay that on the picture, and we start marking where the obstacles are going to be. And then we brief before we show up here. The very first thing, or the very last thing we do in our brief, is we do a site survey brief where we go around Google Earth and we look at the pictures of the ground with the 3D terrain on and obstacles listed, and we know where we start every maneuver, where we need to be on what line to make it look right. And so we say, hey, this is going to be a factor. So for us, the control tower is actually on our roll cut line. It's not directly on it, but it's close enough to get your attention. That's a pretty tall tower. So that's something that's nice to know before we show up. So when we're flying around, we're not surprised by it. So we're basically validating what we expect to see. And then things happen, construction happens where they don't maybe put a tall crane in the system. So we're also looking for obstacles that maybe we missed on the database sweep that are a factor.
And was that stuff you were looking at today when you were flying in, or is that stuff?
No, so we look at before, but then we briefed it this morning right after our flight brief, and then as we're flying in for our site survey, that's what we're looking at. So we're making sure the pictures are in Google Earth. They're pretty new satellite photos, but sometimes things change. Right. So we're just making sure what we expect matches the reality of what's on the ground. A lot of times in real life, you can find other things that aren't in the satellite photo, whether it's a truck that's parked in a driveway, or a driveway itself. You name it. There's a whole bunch of site pictures you can find just flying around. So that's what we do. We take the time, we fly around, and the boss and I are just basically looking for things on the ground that can help us find the right ground track.
Is it one of those things when you're doing that, it's like, okay, this truck, for instance, that's where we're going to brake to do? Are you using visual cues?
We are visual, visual, and we also are using the system in the jet. So we have a show center point in the jet, and we know how far we are from that. So that's like your catch-all. The system in your jet's good. But for example, when we're coming in from back to front, there's a road that you can see kind of behind the TACAN that's off in the distance. So you can pick that up really well from back to front, and we just know we have to be offset just slightly to the outside of that. So that road will be on the right side, kind of underneath our right wing. So he knows when he's way out there, pointing at the crowd, he can pick up that road at range, put himself on the right offset, and then know that he's perfectly on axis of how he's trying to bring the formation into the crowd. So those are the type of things that we're looking at.
Is there anything that I haven't thought of or asked about that people find interesting, that this is some of the stuff we have to do to prep?
For sure, yeah. I think one of the biggest part of it is you see right here, 6 airplanes. Well, there's 7, but you'll see the 6 airplanes flying in the demonstration with the 6 pilots. We actually bring 60 people on that C-17 that just landed, that's parked right there.
Oh, that's your guys?
That's the rest of the team. So that has all our, has the line trailer for the maintainers, it has a spare engine, it has all our bags, all the rest of the team. And what most people don't realize about the Thunderbirds is it takes such a big team to put these 6 jets in the air. So we have teammates that do public affairs. We have obviously the maintainers are the biggest part, and specialty troops within maintenance. So guys who are experts in the electrical systems, the engines, the avionics, you name it. We have our own finance people. We basically, every job that exists in the Air Force, we have inherent on the team, and we bring them with us to make the show site happen.
When you're on site for a show, you guys come in today, do you get any free time?
Our schedules are pretty tight. The morning of the shows, so Saturday and Sunday morning, are pretty much until about 11 o'clock or so is pretty much our own time. But and then basically after today, when we get checked into the hotel, the rest of the day is kind of our free time. But Friday, we do community outreach, so I'll be visiting a hospital that's on the north side of town here tomorrow morning. We have a bunch of students who are doing a summer program who are going to come in for a STEM exhibit here on Friday too. So we spend our mornings on Friday mornings doing community outreach, and then Friday afternoons we practice debrief, and then there's typically a show party associated with the show site. So we're going to have that at the baseball field downtown this weekend. So there's not a lot of free time, to tell you the truth, but when we are working, it's fun and it's rewarding. Right. So it's a busy schedule, but it's not like I'm out there doing manual labor. When I go to a hospital, I can make a sick kid smile or laugh. That brings a lot of fulfillment to me personally, as it does to them and their family. It's appreciated. So
last question I've got is difference between this plane and what you were flying in combat.
Not much. So they took the gun out. So right there on the left side. Yeah, that little
is?
port
Yeah.
right below the flags. There's like a metal barrel there, so that's where we keep our smoke oil. So there's a big, where it would have the big ammo drum in there. It just basically has a drum that keeps oils, like 0 weight 30 oil, and it goes all the way to the back and gets sprayed right into the exhaust, and the exhaust is about 875 degrees Celsius, so that thing just vaporizes, turns to smoke. But other than that, that's really the only difference. And then obviously the paint job, the red, white, and blue paint job. But they claim that they can turn this jet into a combat, go to war ready jet minus the paint in 48 hours.
Wow.
All the checks and tests and putting the bomb racks on and the right missile
there's
rails.
stuff in that cockpit I'm not allowed to see?
So like the RWR is typically secret, but we took the antennas are there on the airplane, but the equipment, the actual brains of it's taken out. The only there's nothing in the cockpit that's sight sensitive that you couldn't look at. The only thing is the radar is still considered classified, but it's not like we load up any kind of weapons on the jet. If you were to load up a simulated missile and then display the ranges of that missile when you simulate it, that would be secret. But we don't do that because our tapes that we fly with are unclassified, so we don't load anything software-wise in the jet that would now classify our tapes. But yeah, there's really nothing secret on the jet other than if you were to take the nose off and start digging out radar parts, but then you probably have the guys with guns.
Yeah.
They'd have some questions for you.
Hey, I appreciate your time.
Hey, no problem.
I'm really excited about
Yeah,
this. Can I do a selfie?